All right, so you just got out of Alien, Romulus, right? And, the visuals were amazing, the xenomorphs were terrifying, but something just felt off, maybe.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So, have we got a deep dive for you? Today, we're going to be looking at all those IMDb reviews,
Oh, yeah.
figuring out just what's going on with this latest Alien movie. It's a big franchise.
Huge. And it's crazy how people are so divided. I mean, a 7 out of 10 on IMDb, that's higher than like Alien 3, even Prometheus, right? But
Yeah.
it's nowhere near Alien or Aliens. Those are classics.
Right. Untouchable.
Exactly. So it makes you wonder, are they just trying to please the hardcore fans? Or, I don't know, do they actually want to move the story forward?
Yeah, that's a good question, because a lot of the reviews, they're praising the visuals, the practical effects. People are saying, finally, this is what I wanted. Give me that gloomy atmosphere, real xenomorphs, none of that, over-polished CGI.
Yeah, and that makes sense. We are living in a time of, like, major 80s nostalgia, right? Practical effects, they just feel real. Like visceral.
It's tangible.
Exactly, tangible. CGI can't quite capture that.
No.
And this movie, it really delivers on that.
Oh, yeah. Reviewers are talking about that opening scene, and they're like, oh, the space, it felt massive.
Right.
And Xenomorph, it's a perfect blend, the classic but also new. But here's the thing. The more you see those positive comments,
Yeah.
the more you see these negative ones that hit hard, like unoriginal, lazy writing, just straight up fan service.
Yeah, it's like they've focused so much on mailing those visuals that they kind of forgot about the story. I mean,
Yeah.
reviewers are calling out, the overuse of, what they say, remember berries?
Remember, Barry?
Like moments that are just there for nostalgia, not to actually move the plot forward.
Right. And they're saying things like, that Rickash inclusion, come on, that felt forced.
Totally.
Or did they really have to reuse Ripley's line? Cringe.
Like they're trying to please everyone,
All right.
and by doing that, they're pleasing no one?
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes you wonder, what is the direction of the franchise? I mean, can you honor the legacy but also bring something new? It seems like Romulus is just, I don't know, stuck in this weird in-between.
It is. Think about it. Prequels that explored the origins, right? Sequels that amped up the action. Where do you even go from there? Like, what's next for Alien?
Yeah. I mean, speaking of what's next, one thing that jumps out from the reviews is like the characters.
Well, tell me about it.
Yeah. I mean, they're just not hitting, especially compared to Ripley. Even David from Prometheus.
Right.
People are saying, like, I felt no tension, there was no dread, because you just can't connect with these characters.
And you have to wonder, right, like, has the xenomorph threat, has it become stale? I mean, we've seen it in so many forms.
So many times.
Yeah, maybe it's just lost its power to, I don't know, to really scare us. Or maybe it's more that those earlier films, they had this character depth that made you care when they were in danger.
Exactly. You felt something.
You felt it.
It seems like this script, it just forgot that crucial ingredient, and they're calling out specific things, like Crane, she's just a cheap Amanda Ripley knockoff. And don't even get me started on the teenagers. Annoying and unrealistic were the nice things they were saying.
Oh, God, the teenagers. And that's such a crucial part of, like, the horror movie formula, right?
Right.
You have these young characters, they symbolize innocence, vulnerability.
You're supposed to be worried about.
Yeah, you're supposed to be worried. But if they're written so poorly,
The whole thing falls apart.
it does. And then, we have to address the elephant in the room,
Oh, yeah.
Prometheus and Covenant, tying this film to those prequels.
Big debate.
Huge. Some people say he's clever world building. Others are like, this is franchise damaging.
Yeah. And it makes sense that those films, they were divisive.
Oh, so divisive.
Yeah, they represent such a different Alien, right? It's more like philosophical creation, AI. I mean, that's not the visceral horror.
It's a totally different beast.
Yeah, so some reviewers are loving that deeper exploration. They're like, oh, Romulus just added new layers to the lore. But others are saying it feels like forced in there.
Shoehorned.
Yeah, shoehorn. And it distracts from like the core Alien experience.
Yep. And it brings us back to the question, can a franchise really cater to everybody? Right? Because, like, are we talking about two different groups of fans? Like the ones who just want those monster-in-the-dark thrills.
Right.
And then those who are, like, fascinated by the big, where did they come from and what does it all mean? Questions.
Yeah, and it's interesting because then you get a review, right? This one reviewer says, okay, the first two acts, predictable, but that third act, a white-knuckle horror ride, that saved the whole movie for me.
Really? Wow. See, that just shows you the power of subverting expectations, right? I mean, a film can start off rehashing the same old stuff, but if it takes risks later on,
It can redeem itself.
it can redeem itself. And I think that speaks to us as viewers, right? We want to be surprised. We don't want to just be entertained. We want those ha moments.
We want to be challenged.
We want to be challenged, exactly.
So it sounds like Alien Romulus is this mixed bag. Visually stunning, stories kind of all over the place. It gives those hardcore fans the thrills, but maybe at the cost of originality. What do you think is like the most surprising takeaway from these reviews?
I don't know. It's hard to say. It's a lot to unpack. But one thing that really gets me is this idea that maybe, just maybe, we've become too used to the xenomorphs.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen them so much. Movies, games, comics, everything. Have they just become too familiar? Like, are we just not scared anymore?
Yeah. And if they're not scary, then what does that even mean for the future of, like, the whole franchise?
Right. Like, does Alien need to evolve? Does it need to find new ways to frighten us?
That's a big question.
It is a big question. And it's a question that Romulus tries to answer, but I don't know if it succeeds.
Yeah. Interesting.
It is. But hey, at least it's sparking a conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about it, we're debating it, we're picking it apart, and that's good, right?
That's got to be a good thing.
It means the franchise is still relevant, it still has the power to get us talking, and who knows, maybe all this talk will lead to something even better, even scarier down the line.
I hope. Now, let's talk about that Prometheus and Covenant connection a bit more.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Some reviewers are saying it's franchise damaging, right? Others are all about the world building. It's really dividing people.
It is, and I think it comes down to what you want from an Alien film. Do you want the monster movie? Straight up drills? Or are you more into the deeper stuff like where'd they come from? What's the deal with AI? You know, those bigger questions.
Right. And in those prequels, they went in a completely different direction, right? It's a more philosophy, mythology, not just like pure horror.
Yeah.
And it seems like Romulus is trying to, I don't know, bridge those two things, connect them.
It does, but it's a tough thing to do. You could end up alienating both sides. The ones who want classic Alien and the ones who like the deeper, prequel stuff.
Right. And one reviewer said it felt like they were trying to have their cake and eat it too. Please everyone, but satisfy no one.
It's tough. It's a tough balancing act.
Yeah. And I don't know, is there a right answer?
I don't think so. It's all personal preference, right? Like, what are you looking for when you go see an Alien movie?
Okay, so let's put on our producer hats for a second.
Okay, I like this.
We're in charge of the next Alien film, right? How do we handle these criticisms? What do we do?
I think, for me, it's all about the characters. We need characters we can actually believe in, Characters you connect with emotionally.
Right.
Without that, the scares, they just don't work.
They don't land.
They don't land. You have to care about these people. You have to feel like they might actually die.
Right. Otherwise, it's just CGI monsters running around.
Exactly. Just a light show.
Yeah, and I think we got to embrace the unknown, take some risks, explore new stuff within the Alien universe. I mean, we've seen a xenomorphs a lot.
So many times.
Yeah, so let's find some new ways to scare people.
Right. Maybe we shift the focus away from the creatures themselves and we look at the impact, like the psychological impact.
Yeah. Yeah. What happens to the survivors? How do they live with that trauma?
Exactly. What are the long-term consequences of seeing that kind of horror?
Now, that's a story I'd watch. It's like the human cost of encountering this xenomorph threat.
The darkness inside ourselves.
Ooh, yeah.
And maybe that's how you revitalize this whole thing. You move beyond what we know. You push the boundaries of horror. You create something that really gets under your skin and makes you think.
Makes you think.
And maybe that's the key. So, listener, I ask you, are you ready for a new kind of Alien film? Something that challenges you, something that stays with you long after it's over.
Yeah, because, I mean, the future of this franchise, it's really in your hands.
It is.
Your reactions, the feedback, whether you want something more, that's what's going to determine where Alien goes next.
It's a big responsibility.
It is a big responsibility, but that's what makes these deep dives so, I don't know, so rewarding.
They are.
We're not just summarizing reviews. We're having this conversation about the evolution of a whole genre, about how powerful stories can be.
The power of stories.
Yeah, and that fascination with the unknown.
That never goes away.
It doesn't. And that conversation, it doesn't end here.
No, it keeps going.
It goes on with every single viewer who watches Alien Romulus and has their own, like, personal takeaway.
Exactly.
So as we kind of start wrapping up our deep dives into these reviews, we have to acknowledge the big thing, right?
Oh, here we go.
The thing everyone's talking about, the most controversial element, that ending.
Oh, boy, that ending. People are either loving it, calling it a bold twist, or they're saying it ruined the whole franchise.
Completely betray it, yeah.
It's like that final act, it's a Rorschach test for Alien fans.
It really is.
Like, what you see in it, it says a lot about what you want from these movies. Some people, they love that it pushes the boundaries, that it explores new stuff. Other people feel like it's gone too far, that it's lost that classic alien horror.
Yeah, and some reviewers are even, like, comparing it to 2001. They're saying that Romulus is trying to deal with these big questions about, like, humanity's place in the universe, consciousness, even the meaning of life.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like, do we need that from an alien movie?
It's a big swing, that's for sure. And yeah, it's dividing people. But I think it shows you, the filmmakers, they're trying to do something different. They're not just giving us the same old thing. They want to make a film that makes you think, that stays with you. Whether you like it or not, it sticks with you.
Yeah. Okay, but let's get into the specifics.
Okay.
And, no spoilers or anything, but a lot of the criticism is about how the film handles the xenomorphs. Like, some people are saying it feels like they're almost sidelined.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like they're not the main focus anymore.
That's a good point. And the xenomorph, it's alien, right? You can't really have an alien film without it.
Right.
But I think Romulus is trying to say, hey, there are other scary things out there. Maybe even scarier than, a monster with acid dud.
Ew. And that ties back into what we were talking about before, right? About being desensitized to xenomorphs. If we've seen them so much, then maybe it is time to find something new to be scared of.
Exactly. Horror, it works best when it gets at those deep down fears, the ones you don't even realize you have.
Right.
And this film, it's suggesting that those fears, they could be anything. It's not just about, blood and guts. It's about the unknown, the stuff we can't even understand.
Yeah, that's pretty deep for a popcorn horror movie.
It is. But I think it's cool that they're trying, that they're taking risks and trying to mess with our expectations. They're not just giving us what we want. They're asking us to think about the whole alien universe in a different way.
Right, and that's what makes this whole deep dive so interesting. We're not just saying, oh, is it a good movie or a bad movie? We're talking about, like, what does this say about horror?
Right.
About how this franchise is changing and how our own relationship with fear is changing.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. And that's where you come in, listener. We've looked at the reviews, talked about the good, the bad, the confusing. Now it's your turn. Go see Alien, Romulus, see it for yourself, figure out what it means to you.
Form your own opinion.
Yes, because ultimately the most important review is the one that you, the viewer, create in your own head. Did it scare you? Did it make you think? Did you want more? That's what matters.
And whatever you think, we hope this deep dive, it gave you a new way to look at Alien, at horror, at how powerful stories can be. Just, keep those conversations going. Keep exploring those dark corners of the universe. And never stop questioning the things that scare you.
Because sometimes the scariest things are the ones that we make up ourselves.
That's deep.
It is. And that's it for this deep dive. We'll be back next week with another movie, another batch of reviews, and more big questions to unpack. Until then, stay curious, stay scared, and as always, thanks for listening. So how do you even make a xenomorph scary in, 2024? Is it even possible?
Well, Romulus definitely tries a few things.
Yeah.
Like, the director, he uses a lot of shadows, keeps the creature hidden for a lot of the movie.
Oh, so you don't see it right away.
Not really, no. And I think that builds suspense, right? You have to use your imagination a little bit, fill in the blanks.
Yeah, your mind goes to some crazy places.
Exactly. And the sound design, too. Like, there's all these creepy noises. The music is all distorted.
Oh, yeah. They can really mess with you with that stuff.
Oh, totally.
But some reviewers, they're saying it's not enough, complaining about too many jump scares, saying it feels cheap.
Yeah, and I get that. Jump scares, they're like a quick fix,
Yeah.
like a jolt to your system. But they don't stick with you, not like real psychological horror.
Right. And speaking of psychological horror, there's that one review, right? They called the third act a white knuckle ride.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think they're responding to how the movie, flips everything on its head.
It subverts your expectations.
Yes, it starts off normal, like classic alien stuff, but then it takes this sharp turn, goes into some really messed up places.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but I think that third act, it taps into something primal. It's like it's exploring the darkness inside humanity itself.
Okay, hold on. So, amazing visuals, story's kind of shaky, some good scares, and then bam, this intense, crazy third act. No wonder people are so confused.
I know, it's like it wants to be two things at once, a throwback, but also this totally new thing.
It can't decide.
It can't. But let's talk about the technical stuff for a second. People are raving about the cinematography, how they use light and shadow, like it's claustrophobic. Yeah, the director's definitely into classic film noir.
Oh, okay.
Right? Yeah, like, chiaroscuro lighting. That contrast between what and the dark creates mystery. Like there's something hiding just out of sight.
Yeah. You don't know what's lurking in those shadows.
Exactly. And that adds to the horror, right? It's not just what you see, it's what you don't see.
What your mind fills in.
Yeah. Your imagination is a powerful tool. And when a film knows how to use that, it can get really creepy.
Oh, yeah. And then you have those CGI complaints. They're saying the practical effects awesome, but there's this one CGI character totally out of place.
Jarring.
Jarring.
Right. You have this gritty world and then this one thing that just looks fake.
Take you right out of it.
It does. It shows how important consistency is.
Yeah.
You set up a certain look, you got to stick with it. Bad CGI could just ruin the whole illusion.
Right. Speaking of ruining things, there's that villain reveal. Everyone's saying it was predictable.
Oh, yeah. That's a problem with so many of these movies, right?
Yeah.
We've seen so many twists. It's like we're immune to them now.
We see it coming a mile away.
Exactly. You need a really clever writer to surprise us these days. To do something that feels fresh.
We're all armchair detectives now.
We are. We're trying to solve the mystery before it even happens.
But that makes it harder for the filmmakers, right?
It does. They got to be smarter, take more risks.
Yeah. And maybe that's what Romulus is missing. It's good, it's fun, but it's not, like, groundbreaking. It doesn't really challenge us or leave us thinking.
It doesn't linger.
Yeah. So where does that leave us?
Beautiful film. But the story's struggling. Trying to please the old fans, trying to do something new, and not really doing either well.
But it's not a bad film.
No.
I think it's more like
It's having a conversation with us, with the audience. It's trying to figure out where it fits in this whole alien world. And It's been going for like 40 years.
And that's what makes this deep dive interesting, right? And we're not just talking about one movie. We're talking about the whole legacy of Alien.
Exactly. Its impact, its power. And that's what I want to ask the listener, right? Like, what do you want from an alien movie? What are you hoping to see? What scares you?
Yeah. What really struck me from the reviews was this feeling that we're just like too comfortable xenomorphs now.
Yeah.
Like, if they're not scary anymore, what's next? Does the franchise need to evolve, find new ways to freak us out?
Right. That's the challenge with any long-running horror series.
Yeah.
How do you keep the monsters fresh? How do you tap into those primal fears? Now, Romulus tries, but I don't know, it's not entirely successful.
It's a good effort.
It is. But hey, at least it's getting people talking.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about it, we're debating it, we're analyzing it. That's got to count for something.
It does. It means Alien is still relevant. It still has power. And who knows, maybe this conversation will lead to something amazing down the line, so that it really shakes things up.
I hope so. Now, let's circle back to that Prometheus and Covenant connection.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
It is. Some are saying franchise damaging. Others are praising the world building. It's really dividing people.
It is. And it really comes down to your expectations, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you want the classic monster movie pure thrills? Or are you more into the deeper stuff, the origins, the AI, the big questions?
Right. Because those prequels, they were definitely different, more philosophical, more about mythology, not just straight up horror.
Right, exactly. And it seems like Romulus is trying to, I don't know, brick that gap, bring those two sides together.
Yeah, like a weird hybrid.
It is. But that's a risky move, right?
Very risky.
Yeah, you could end up making both sides mad. The people who want classic Alien and the ones who like the more philosophical stuff from the prequels.
And one reviewer actually said it felt like they were trying to have their cake and eat it too.
Oh, I saw that one.
Yeah, like please everyone, but end up satisfying no one.
It's tough. It's a tough balance.
It really is. So let's put on our producer hats again for a second.
Ooh, okay, I'm ready.
We're making the next Alien movie. How do we fix these problems? What do we do?
Okay, for me, I think it all comes back to the characters.
Okay.
We need characters we care about, people you can connect with emotionally. Otherwise, the scares don't work.
Right. Like, they need to feel real. You need to worry about them.
Exactly. You need to feel like they might actually die. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of CGI running around, no stakes.
It's just a light show.
It is. And I think we need to be willing to explore the unknown,
Yeah.
take risks, go to new places in the alien universe. We've seen the xenomorphs a million times. Let's find something new to be scared of.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe shift the focus, right? Instead of just the creatures, look at the the impact they have, the psychological effects.
Ooh, I like that. Like, what happens to the survivors? How do they deal with the trauma?
Exactly. What are the long-term consequences of facing that kind of horror?
Now, that's a story I'd want to see.
Right. It's like it's the human costs of the xenomorph threat, not just the immediate danger, but like the lasting effects.
The stars you can't see.
Ooh, yeah. That's good. That's really good.
And maybe that's the key to making aliens scary again. Move past what we know. Push the boundaries. Create something truly unsettling, something that really sticks with you.
Something that makes you think.
Exactly. So listener, I ask you, are you ready for a new kind of alien film? A film that challenges you, that stays with you long after the credits roll.
Because the future of this franchise, it's in your hands. Your reactions, your feedback, whether you want something more, that's what's going to determine where Alien goes next.
It's a big responsibility, viewer.
It is, but that's what makes these deep dives so, I don't know, so rewarding, right?
They are.
We're not just summarizing reviews, we're having this bigger conversation about the evolution of horror, about the power of storytelling, about, our fascination with the unknown.
Absolutely. And that conversation, it doesn't end here.
It keeps going.
It does. It continues with every single person who watches Alien Romulus and forms their own opinion.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the reviews, we have to address the elephant in the room, the thing everyone's talking about, the most controversial part, that ending.
Buckle up, folks. Yeah, that ending, it's wild.
It's a doozy. People are calling it like this bold, subversive twist, and then others are like, this ruined Alien.
It's almost like what you see in that ending says more about you than the movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like a Rorschach test for Alien fans. Some are into how it pushes boundaries, the themes, the stuff we've never seen in an Alien film before. But others, they feel like it loses that core Alien DNA.
Yeah.
It sacrifices the horror to be more, I don't know, abstract.
And some reviewers are even comparing it to 2001. They're saying Romulus is grappling with like huge questions, humanity in the cosmos, consciousness. I even saw one that mentioned the meaning of life.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like, do we need that in an Alien movie? Is that what we're here for?
It's definitely a choice, that's for sure. And it is dividing people. But I think it shows that the filmmakers, they're ambitious. They don't just want to rehash the same old stuff.
Yeah.
They're trying to do something different. They want to make a film that, really sticks with you.
Okay, but let's get into the specifics. And, no spoilers, but a lot of the criticism is about like the xenomorphs. Some are saying it feels like they're almost sidelined in this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they're not the main focus anymore.
It's interesting. I mean, the xenomorph it's so iconic, right? It's hard to imagine the alien without it.
Yeah.
But maybe Romulus is trying to say, hey, there are other things to be afraid of. Things even scarier than a monster with acid blood.
Ooh, okay. And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, right? Like being desensitized to the xenomorph.
Right. Like we've seen them so much.
You've seen it all.
Yeah. Maybe it is time to find new fears.
And new ways to be afraid.
Yeah. Because horror, it works best when it taps into those deep anxieties, the fears you don't even know you have.
Yeah, yeah.
And Romulus is saying those fears, they could be anything. It's not just about like monsters and gore.
Right.
It's about the unknown, the stuff we can't even wrap our heads around.
That's deep, man, for a, popcorn horror movie.
It is. But I kind of like it. It's good that they're taking risks. They're trying to shake things up, make us think about Alien in a whole new way.
Yeah, I like that. And it's what makes this deep dive so interesting, And we're not just talking about whether the movie is good or bad.
Right.
It's about what it says about horror as a whole, how Alien is changing, and how our own relationship with fear is changing too.
Exactly. It's a big conversation.
It is, and that's where you come in, listener. We've looked at the reviews, we've debated, we've, tried to figure it all out. Now it's your turn. Go see Alien. Romulus. See it for yourself. Decide what it means to you.
What did it make you feel?
Yeah, because the most important review is the one you write in your own mind, right? Did it scare you? Did it make you think? Did you want more? Those are the questions that matter.
I think so. And no matter what you think, I hope this deep dive maybe gave you a new way to look at Alien, at horror, at how stories, they can really mess with you in a good way.
They can. So keep those conversations going. Keep exploring. Keep asking questions, Never stop being curious about the stuff that scares you.
Because sometimes the scariest things are the ones we make up ourselves.
That's a good one to end on.
Is it?
Yeah. That's it for this deep dive. We'll be back next week with another movie, another batch of reviews, and more things to unpack. Until then, stay curious, stay scared, and as always, thanks for listening.